first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time, talking to us. And, I just want to introduce that we are talking to Jeff Pilson of Foreigner. How are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous.
So you guys are just, kind of a little bit of a break, but you guys are on this tour with Styx. How's that going so far?
Oh, it's going amazing. Great tour. John Waite's on it as well. It's just an incredible night of music. I mean, the amount of hits you get to hear in this thing is just ridiculous. And all the bands are sounding and playing and looking fabulous. And it's just a great show. And we can, it's funny that you get a feeling when you're on a tour and everybody knows it's a good tour. It's like, it's a very solid camaraderie feeling that happens. And, we're experiencing that big time right now.
Yeah, that's a funny. This is like the third. I think you're the third member so far of Foreigner that I've interviewed, and you just mentioned the hits, and I'm like, it's funny that you go with bands that will be on tour, and you play 10, 15 songs, 20 songs, and some of those are hits, but you have the B-side stuff where Foreigner, your whole entire set is nothing but hits, which is insane.
Well, we had 16 top 30 songs.
Yeah,
that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about. Like you said, you're doing a full entire you can play for an hour and a half, 2 hours, almost 3 hours of just hit songs, and that's not even including some of the other songs that are on those Foreigner albums. They're just as good as the hits too.
Well, thank you, and yeah, well, I always say making the set list for Foreigner is like cheating.
So now that it's 2024, you've been with the band for 20 years. How's that like to have been with Foreigner for that long? And do you kind of have like the memories of just starting? When you got asked to join the band.
Well, let's hope my memory hasn't gone from that too much yet. Okay, well, long question. I do have memory of joining. I joined in 2004 because I was playing with Jason. Jason Bonham and I had been in a movie together called Rockstar in 2001. So when he started working with Mick Jones in 2004, they just called me to come down, and chemistry was immediate, and I've been here ever since. And I mean, what a fabulous thing. 20 years in one band, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then, obviously the big news of this year is, Foreigner finally getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, how do you feel about that, with sometimes with so many people, voicing their opinion of who they allow into and who they haven't allowed into it yet? Are you looking forward to, that induction?
Well, sure, of course. Of course I'm going to look forward to that induction.
Yeah. But yeah, so with the when you with the Styx and stuff like that, or with playing with Styx, it's another band like you were saying with the Foreigner, where their Styx can play so many great songs. How amazing is that to be able to tour with a band like that has that sort of same as far as music career as Foreigner?
Well, it's great. I mean, we're kind of like brother bands in many ways, and it feels like that. And we've been doing this together for a long time, so it feels great. Styx are they're the ultimate pro band. They have great songs. They're still great. I mean, Tommy Shaw sings amazing, and Lawrence Gowan is a force of nature. So I mean, they're just an incredible band. JY is still playing. I mean, like crazy. I mean, he's and singing. What am I saying? So, anyways, yeah, they're great. They're just they're a fabulous band to tour with. Got to say, John Waite has been pretty impressive too, man. He sounds really good. Love his voice, and his band is great, and his songs just really work. And I think that the overall bill is like one of the strongest we've been on.
Yeah. That's to say, because you guys have always kind of when you've done these shows with the iconic bands, you guys always did. Because I remember the last time I think I shot you guys was when you guys toured with Whitesnake, and that was like a really, really awesome tour. Seeing, like I said, you guys have always paired very well with you know the bands that complement your band just as well too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the Whitesnake tour was great too. I think Jason Bonham was on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to give people a lot of bang for the buck. I mean, it's got to give them value. I mean, and make it an event. And I think we have. I mean, it's really the attendances have been phenomenal. I mean, I've just been shocked at how great it's doing. So, very excited about it. Very positive about it, and feel very fortunate.
No, yeah. And then for some of these shows that that are coming up for fan wise, like what can they expect to see from Foreigner if if it's their first time seeing them or if it's their 100th time seeing them?
Well, you can expect Foreigner music. Well, I mean, listen, I think you can expect a great show. I mean, again, what we hear time and time again from people is that they had no idea how many Foreigner songs they knew. They knew the name of the band, and they knew a couple songs, but when they really sat there and listened to the whole thing, it was like, wow, I didn't realize I knew that many songs. So hopefully they'll have that experience, and just doing lots of singing, lots of audience participation. It's just a fun show. And if they come to see the show with Styx and John Waite, they're going to see a whole night of incredible music. So, yeah, I cannot endorse better.
Oh yeah, like you were just mentioning, now it is one of those things where you've gone. I mean, like I said, I've seen you guys multiple times and seen Styx, and it's multiple times. But I remember seeing you guys and not realizing oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that Styx did this song. I forgot that Foreigner did this song. Especially with that longevity of being in the Foreigner being around, Styx being around for 4 decades or so. You kind of realize oh man, yeah, I forgot that this band did this song.
Right. That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. So you were talking about with Bonham joining Rockstar. How was it like doing that movie? Being part of Steel Dragon.
It was so much fun. I mean, it was just nonstop fun from beginning to end. They always say that actors want to be musicians and musicians want to be actors. So if that was the case, we were all having a lot of fun because the actors were really cool with us. The director was amazing. He looked for a lot of input from us, which made it really fun. And it was just a lot of laughs. I mean, Zach Wilde is a very funny guy, and we had a lot of laughs. It was great.
How did you get approached to do that project?
Well, the guy that was the producer of the music was a guy by the name of Tom Werman. And Tom Werman had produced a Dokken record that I was on in 1984. And we worked well together, and I maintained a good rapport with Tom. So he wanted me to just play bass on the studio versions of the records. Because a lot of times with a movie, they do the music first. So I came in the studio to do that. And as we were rehearsing, the director would come to the rehearsals. And one day he came up to me and he said, I'm really digging the vibe in here. This feels like what I want to accomplish with the band. I want it to feel like a real band, and it feels like a real band. And he goes, and you're actually an important part of that. So would you consider being in the movie? And I said, let me think about it. Yes. And I did have to audition, though. I mean, I had to do a, screen test and all that kind of thing. Then it just kind of worked naturally. And what a great way for it to happen. And it turned out to be a tremendous experience.
Yeah. And then, like you were saying, you were just, working with Dokken. How was it like, working with Dokken and doing all those, all those albums with them?
It was great. It was absolutely great. Dokken was, I'm very proud of what we did. I'm very honored to have been part of it. And I mean, Dokken opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah, yeah, and then like speaking of with the Dawkins, and still even now because of the series and stuff like that with the Robert Englund doing Dream Warriors, how cool was it to write a song that was for a movie that still to this day is still considered an iconic, song for us for a movie.
What's the question?
That making Dream Warriors.
What about? Okay. Well, yeah, it was a tremendous experience. I mean, Robert Englund was fabulous. I mean, he was so fun to work with. Really funny guy, great guy. And that was actually a very important thing for Dokken because we were actually the first video to be included on a when you bought the video on the packaging, we were the first one to be included for that. So it kind of made a splash, and we got a lot of attention from that. And I think it was a very helpful promotional tool. And yeah, it's kind of cool being part of a legacy like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a fan of the horror genre?
Not particularly, but I like that movie.
And then also working with people, you can look at the great musicians that you've worked with in your career. How was it like working with the late great Ronnie James Dio?
Ronnie was incredible. I mean, not only, I mean, we all know what a great frontman and singer he was, but he's just a great overall musician, an amazing band leader, and on top of all that, he was just a very, very dear friend. I think of him almost every day, and he's sorely missed. That was a highlight in my career working with him. I mean, the band with he and Vinny and Tracy and Scott and I was really, really strong. It was a real powerful live band. Really fun to be a part of. Really turned my head about. It really gave me another layer of knowledge about playing heavy music, and it's really helped me since then. And just the musicality that we experienced together was so great. Yeah, I mean, my time in Dio was great.
Yeah, yeah. And then with like I said, with these bands and stuff like that, I always ask like, what was your do you have like a favorite tour that you've gone on, or a favorite tour moment throughout your career?
Wow. Well, there's a couple. I mean, the Dio tour that Dokken did in '84 and '85. That was a real special tour. That was where Dokken kind of became a good live band. Because I mean, we would watch Dio every night, and we learned so much from them, and we became good friends with them as well. But that was just a huge growing period, and then there was this wonderful camaraderie between the two bands, and that was the first time I experienced that to that kind of level. It was really amazing. I mean, Super Bowl we'd watch in Ronnie's suite, and I mean, we'd get together and go to bars, and it was just such a fun tour. Like I say, great camaraderie between the bands and crew. Still to this day, I mean, there was friendships made there that are still holding today. So that was an incredible tour. The Aerosmith tour that Dokken did in '87 and '88, that was the same kind of thing. Great camaraderie, wonderful tour, very important tour for Dokken. That was kind of the zenith of our career, and yeah, I mean, that was a tremendous memory. Then with Foreigner, I mean, the Styx tour we did in 2014 with Don Felder is one that really sticks out. The 2018 Whitesnake Jason Bonham tour. I'm spacing on what year was what year. We did a tour with Cheap Trick one year that was really amazing. I love Cheap Trick, and those guys are just wonderful people, and that was a really fun tour. So. And now we've got this year. So I mean, I've been very blessed with touring situations.
What about like like with the touring and stuff like that too? Was there a favorite venue that you've kind of like always like going to and playing at?
Well, there's Red Rocks in Denver that kind of stands out. That's a pretty powerful place. We did Royal Albert Hall a few years ago, and that was a really momentous occasion. It was really special because Mick Jones had never played there, and so it was a real special moment for him. And it's a really cool sounding venue too. It's just something about the sound in there is really, really magical. Same with Carnegie Hall. We did an acoustic show at Carnegie Hall that was very magical. And it was because of the sound of the room. It's amazing sounding. There's a reason why Carnegie Hall is as famous as it is. Yeah. It's a great sounding hall. So that was cool, really cool. Yeah. And then, Sydney Opera House is another one that's pretty cool to do. I mean, it's, more for the cachet than for necessarily anything else. I mean, it does sound really good in there. And we did do it with an orchestra, which was very, very cool. But yeah, those are the ones that stand out to me most.
Yeah, I remember seeing you guys, because most of the time whenever I was seeing you, I'm used to seeing you in more like the open amphitheaters and stuff like that. But in 2021, you guys played in Baltimore. You played at the Maryland Casino, which was kind of interesting. That was my first time seeing a band play at a casino, like at the Maryland Hall. It was such a cool, and it had huge, like a pretty cool, atmosphere seeing it inside versus seeing it outside. So I can imagine places like that, Carnegie Hall and stuff like that, where you're playing like an inside place is pretty interesting versus playing the amphitheaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like usually when I ask this question, it's going to be kind of like a two-part question. It's kind of like it's a tough loaded question because it's usually like asking what's your favorite child. But if you could pick a song through your career that you want to put into a capsule and civilization finds it thousands of years later, what song would you want them to hear? And we'll do one from Foreigner and one from your career of songs you wrote.
From Foreigner, I would pick of a recording that I'm on. I would pick "The Flame Still Burns" that we put out a couple years ago. Something about that version I think was really magical and special. So that was Foreigner. Who else did you ask then?
And then throughout any other song throughout your career.
So a Dokken song that I would want to put in the capsule. I would say "It's Not Love," probably. No. We're talking thousands of years. Let's do something a little deeper than that. "Will the Sunrise." The song "Will the Sunrise" from Dokken. Let's have some people wake up to that a couple thousand years from now. Then from Dio, I would definitely pick the song "Stay Out of My Mind," only because I wrote most of it. And Ronnie's performance on that is just kills me. Yeah, I would pick that. From Lynch Pilson that George Lynch and I did, I would pick the song "Ever Higher" because I'm still very proud of that song. And then let's see, moving on down the line, what else have I done? Okay, Black Swan, I would pick the song "Shake the World." End Machine, I would pick the song "Leap of Faith." Revolution Saints, "Crime of the Century." That's a fairly full time capsule, don't you think?
Yeah. Like I said, especially when you've had so much of a career of like spanning different projects.
Well, plus, if people's attention spans continue to get smaller than they are now, well, in a couple thousand years, asking them to listen to that much is going to be way too much. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, whenever I talk to bass players, I always talk about that with there's the TV series about Geddy Lee with our bass players, real humans and stuff like that. So what do you say to all the people that always talk about bass players are just there just to be a bass player, that you're not some people always kind of talk down on bass players, and I always let bass players kind of like stick up for themselves when I get a chance to interview one.
What? Me worry? Anyway, well, I mean, there is a stereotype out there, isn't there? I mean, I've never personally kind of sort of fit the stereotype, but I see where it comes from. A lot of times it comes from the fact that some bass players just want to sit there and groove.
Yeah.
And you know what? I get that. There are times when I wish I didn't have to move around and do all the performing stuff, because I'd love to just stand there and play. But once I get in front of an audience, I can't. So I understand, and I think anybody that wants to just stand there and groove it, be a John Paul Jones, awesome. I think Led Zeppelin wouldn't have been Led Zeppelin without John Paul Jones. So that's a very called for function of a bass player a lot of times, and I have a lot of respect for that. I just don't. That's not the school that I kind of entertain. But other than that, Nikki Sixx is the brainchild of Motley Crue, and he's the bass player. Lemmy was the brainchild of Motorhead, and he was the bass player. There's plenty of examples. Paul McCartney wasn't too much of a slack either. So we have some examples on our side.
Yeah, I always whenever I tell people, I always mention them, and then I go, then you pull out like a Les Claypool, and they're always like, oh yeah, that's like, I mean, that guy is like, he's like the Yngwie of like the bass.
That's right. He's amazing, and he is no slouch, and he is no dummy.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said. That's why I always like talking, with that, just because of that. But speaking of that, is there any type of bass that you like playing, or ones that you prefer better than others?
Well, my axe live has been a Fender P bass my entire time in Foreigner, and much of my time in Dokken and Dio. Recording is different. I'll use different basses on recording. I have a 10-string bass that was made for me by Marvin Guitars. That is an incredible 10-string instrument. Like I say, when I record, I use different basses sometimes. But I've been a P bass guy for forever, and I use a 73 P bass as my main axe live, but I put 1966 pickups in it. But yeah, I'm pretty much a P bass guy, especially live.
Yeah. And then you're, piggybacking on something you said earlier with, not standing there being kind of solitaire while playing the bass. That's the interesting part about watching Foreigner, is you guys are all very entertaining. I mean, everybody's always interacting with other members of the band, interacting with fans and stuff like that. So, like I said, do you prefer doing that type where you're, playing the bass, but you're also, entertaining?
Well, yeah. I mean, I pretty much, if I get in front of a crowd, that's what I do naturally. So, yeah. I mean, it's not a matter of prefer. It's just kind of what I do. But that's why I made it very clear that I also respect guys that just stand there and play because they want to play, and that's cool too.
Yeah. So before I let you go, what's the future plans for yourself and for Foreigner?
Well, for Foreigner, we know looks like we're going to be doing probably about 50 shows next year, select date. We're slowing way down. This is the reason we're calling this our farewell tour is that this is the last year that we're doing 9 months of the year touring heavy duty. So we're going to slow down a lot. And so next year I see us doing about 50 shows. We'll see how that pace goes from there. Myself, I'm going to be producing as many projects as I can. I'm working on another Black Swan record right now. That'll probably come out early in 25. There's Revolution Saints. I haven't heard exactly when we're going to be recording next, but there's that. And then I'm probably going to start another M Machine record in 2025, as well as another Heavy Hitters record with George Lynch, where we do our cover stuff, which is really fun. So I got plenty of recording projects. There's some Foreigner music floating around that I'm hoping we can finish a couple of those songs in 2025. So lots of recording is my future.
Oh, yeah. Well, anything else you want to say to the fans before I let you go?
Just thank you. I mean, God, we have such wonderful fans, and I'm very appreciative of that. And there's not a minute that goes by when I'm not aware of that.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I can't wait to. I'm going to see you guys here, and I think it's the 24th. You guys are playing in Jiffy Lube in Bristow, so I'll be there at that one.
Yeah.
I like seeing you guys there. So it's going to be an awesome show again. I can't wait to see you guys play again.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a good rest of your day.
All right. You too, man. Take care.
No problem, man.
Bye-bye. Bye.